Hope doesn't vanish all at once. It erodes. It flakes away in small, humiliating moments, missed supply drops, unanswered distress calls, the quiet realization that the stars you once trusted are no longer watching. By the time we admitted hope was gone, the Jacques Dominion had already won the sky. Their fleet didn't arrive with dramatic fanfare. No blinding hyperspace flares. No warnings. One moment the void above our world was empty, the next it was crowded with angular shadows so vast they swallowed constellations whole. Black hulls, scarred and ancient, marked with killglyphs that recorded conquered species the way hunters record trophies. They called it a compliance operation. We called it the end. I was not a soldier. I was a logistics coordinator, supply routes, ration forecasts, evacuation spreadsheets. The unglamorous math of survival. I believed wars were won by numbers, not heroics. That belief died quickly. The Jacques dismantled our orbital defenses in less than 6 hours. Not through brute force, but contempt. They ignored half our weapons entirely, letting automated systems waste themselves on decoys while precision strikes removed command relays, shipyards, and communication hubs. They left our cities intact. That should have scared us more than the destruction. Their first broadcast was calm, almost polite. Do not resist. Resistance creates inefficiency. The second broadcast was educational. They executed our planetary defense minister live, dissecting him with surgical tools while explaining Jacques philosophy, how fear stabilized populations, how pain improved compliance curves. After that, no one doubted their seriousness. The coalition responded, eventually. A dozen allied fleets jumped in, banners flying, ancient treaties invoked. I watched from a bunker feed as they formed up with ceremonial precision. The Jacques didn't bother to acknowledge them. The battle lasted 11 minutes. What remained of the coalition burned in orbit, debris spiraling down like dying stars. The Dominion did not pursue survivors. They let the wreckage fall where civilians could see it. That was lesson number 2. Occupation followed. Not boots on every street, just enough to remind us we were owned. Resource extraction began immediately. Atmospheric processors were staged at polar sites, dormant but visible, like knives laid carefully on a table. Resistance flared anyway. It always does. I helped where I could. Misdirected shipments. Hidden caches. False reports. I watched brave people die for victories that lasted hours, sometimes minutes. The Jacques learned our patterns faster than we adapted. They always did. Hope thinned. Weeks passed. Then months. Our population dropped. Our children stopped asking when the soldiers would leave. They asked what Jacques sounded like when they laughed. That question broke something inside me. The final resistance council met beneath the ruins of the capital's old Senate dome, now a collapsed skeleton of stone and glass. We sat in a circle of flickering lights, leaders of a rebellion that no longer pretended it could win. No one spoke for a long time. At last, someone said the word none of us wanted to hear. Surrender. No outrage followed. No arguments. Just exhaustion. Surrender meant survival, bare, stripped, obedient survival, but survival nonetheless. Fighting meant extinction. The Jacques were very clear about that. I was preparing the numbers in my head, population curves under Dominion rule, when an elderly signal officer cleared his throat. There is something, he said hesitantly. We turned to him, irritation barely concealed. Before the occupation, he continued, we detected an anomalous transmission buried in deep space background noise. Old. Fragmented. Not Jacques. Not coalition. Someone snorted. Another ghost signal? He shook his head. No encryption. No threat markers. Just a repeating phrase. He activated the playback. Static. Distortion. Then a voice, harsh, accented, undeniably alien to us. If you can hear this, hold. Silence followed. That was it. No coordinates. No promise. No name. Just hold. Some laughed. Quietly. Bitterly. Others looked away. Hold for what? Someone asked. The signal officer didn't answer, because there was no answer to give. Still, desperation makes decisions for you when logic fails. Against protocol, against reason, we responded. A simple, unencrypted broadcast on every frequency we could still access. No flowery language. No pride. We are under extermination. Any species, any force. If you can hear us, we ask for aid. Then we waited. Nothing answered. Days passed. Then weeks. The Jacquard began Phase 3. Atmospheric processors descended from orbit like monstrous insects, their landings shaking continents. Once active, they would alter our world's chemistry permanently. Not immediately lethal, but uninhabitable to us within a standard year. That was when hope officially died. I remember the moment clearly. Not dramatic. Not loud. Just the quiet acceptance that no one was coming. The Dominion scheduled a planetary address, likely to announce our formal surrender. I stood outside the bunker, looking up at a sky I barely recognized anymore, crowded with enemy hulls, scarred by smoke trails and debris. Then the sky screamed. At first, I thought it was another orbital strike. The sound was wrong, too sharp, too sudden. Dominion sensors lit up across the city, alarms cascading through their command networks. Objects were appearing in high atmosphere. Not jumping in. Not warping. Just there. Dozens of them. Then hundreds. Metal shapes wrapped in fire, falling at impossible speed, tearing through the upper air without deceleration profiles, without safety margins. Jacquard commanders laughed over open channels. Meteor debris, one of them said. Primitive superstition. Then the debris maneuvered. Vectors changed mid-descent. Targets resolved. The falling objects aligned with Dominion installations, command spires, shield generators, processor hubs. I felt it before I understood it. The old signal officer whispered, "Those aren't meteors." The first impact struck the primary command spire. No energy flash. No warning. Just a thunderous impact that punched straight through shield arrays designed to withstand orbital bombardment. The spire collapsed inward, its upper half vaporized by kinetic force alone. For a heartbeat, the world was silent. Then more impacts followed. Across the planet. Across every occupied city. Across every Dominion-held world in the system. The sky rained fire with intent. Jacquard channels erupted in confusion, then panic. These objects are armored. No energy signatures. How are they penetrating shields? They are deploying units. Repeat, deploying. I watched one of the metal coffins hit the ground less than a kilometer away, carving a crater deep enough to swallow a transport carrier. The heat shimmered. Smoke boiled upward. Then the pod split open. Something stepped out. Tall. Broad. Wrapped in scorched armor the color of dried blood. Its visor glowed faint red through the haze. It carried a weapon that looked brutally simple, almost crude. Jacquard troops rushed forward, confident, disciplined. The figure raised its weapon. The sound that followed was not elegant. It was final. And somewhere deep inside me, where hope had already been buried, I felt something else stir. Not relief. Not joy. Fear. Because whatever had just fallen from the sky, it was not here to save us. It was here for them. The first Jacquard soldier died without understanding why. One moment it was advancing in perfect formation, plasma rifle leveled, mind linked to its squad through Dominion command mesh. The next, its torso ceased to exist, armor, flesh, and chitin converted into a cloud of incandescent fragments by a weapon that didn't burn, didn't melt, didn't hesitate. It simply erased. The red-visored figure stepped forward through the smoke, boots crunching on glass stone, and laughed. Not a roar. Not a challenge. A tired, almost amused chuckle, like a predator recognizing familiar prey. Jacquard officers barked orders. Heavy weapons deployed. Artillery coordinates uploaded. This was supposed to be routine: overwhelm, suppress, pacify. The human ignored all of it. Plasma bolts hammered its armor, splashing uselessly across layered ablative plates designed for impacts, not heat. A missile struck dead center, detonating in a brilliant flare that would have vaporized a light vehicle. When the smoke cleared, the figure was still standing. It brushed ash from its shoulder. "Rude," it said, voice rough, accented, unmistakably alive. Then it advanced. More pods slammed down around the city, each arrival punctuated by the same brutal physics. No deceleration, no mercy. The ground shook as if the planet itself flinched. From each crater emerged more of them. Men. Women. Shapes in heavy armor bearing scars, tally marks, old symbols etched by hand. They moved with terrifying confidence. Not rushing. Not hiding. Walking forward like they already owned the battlefield. Jacques command channels descended into chaos. "These units are ignoring suppression fire. They are breaching hardened positions without charges. Our predictive models are failing." One officer screamed as a human vaulted over a barricade, landed in the middle of his squad, and went to work with a blade that hummed with restrained violence. Limbs fell. Armor split. The human moved like someone who had fought in worse places than this, and won. Across the city, the same pattern repeated. The humans didn't secure perimeters. They punched straight through them. They didn't hold ground. They collapsed it, targeting communication nodes, command centers, and logistical hubs with obsessive precision. I watched Dominion icons vanish from our tactical map, blinking out faster than our systems could register. A Jacques commander finally demanded an open channel. "Unknown forces," it hissed, mandibles flaring. "Identify yourselves under Dominion law." The reply came instantly. Not from one source. From everywhere. "This is the Terran Expeditionary Force." The words hit the air like a verdict. The commander scoffed. "Terran. You are not listed among recognized powers. Withdraw immediately or be exterminated." There was a pause. Then a different human voice responded, older, colder. "You already tried that." A new feed opened without permission, hijacked straight into Dominion command space. It showed a Jacques fortress world burning, shipyards in ruins, defense grids collapsing, entire fleets gutted before they could launch. The human continued, voice flat. "You hurt our neighbors." Another pause. "And we noticed." That was when the Dominion realized the truth. This wasn't a rescue. It was a reckoning. Human warships began appearing across the system, not jumping in, but sliding out of nowhere, exploiting physics the Dominion had dismissed as impractical. Their vessels were ugly, blocky things bristling with kinetic cannons, rail arrays, and missile racks that fired in obscene volumes. They didn't announce targets. They erased them. One Dominion carrier tried to retreat. Its engines spooled up, shields flaring. A human frigate fired a single projectile. No glow. No trail. The slug hit at a fraction below light speed. The carrier ceased to be a ship and became a rapidly expanding debris field. Jacques morale collapsed in real time. Orders contradicted each other. Fleets scattered. Ground forces withdrew, straight into kill zones the humans had predicted hours earlier. And still, the humans pushed deeper. They transmitted directly to us then. A secure channel, impossibly clean. A woman appeared on screen, her face lined, her eyes sharp with the fatigue that came from too many wars. A Terran commander. "We're not here to command you," she said. "We're here to end this." I found my voice shaking. "Why?" She looked at me, not with pity, not with heroism, but with something like recognition. "Because a long time ago," she said, "we screamed into the dark too." Her gaze hardened. "And someone taught us a lesson about the universe." Behind her, a tactical display lit up, Dominion core systems marked in red. "They taught us," she finished, "that monsters only stop when they're afraid." The feed cut. The sky burned. And for the first time since the invasion began, I realized something far more terrifying than the Jacques Dominion had entered the war. Humanity hadn't come to fight. They had come to finish a story, one they had been waiting to close for a very long time. The galaxy learned quickly what humans did when they finished a story. It wasn't subtle. It wasn't polite. And it certainly wasn't fair. The Terran Expeditionary Force didn't fight for territory, they fought to erase it. Every Dominion command hub, every communications relay, every production facility was dismantled with a precision that made engineers weep and generals vomit. Fleets were routed before they could leave dock. Armies evaporated in the blink of a strategic eye. But the most terrifying part wasn't their efficiency. It was their method. They studied the Dominion for decades, learning their language, their psychology, their weaknesses. Every battlefield was a trap of anticipation. Every tactic turned back on the enemy. Every resource the Dominion relied on, their satellites, their drones, their supposedly invincible dreadnoughts, became weapons against them. Humans didn't just fight, they inverted the universe. One Dominion officer, captured and trembling, demanded to know their motivation. "You have no claim to vengeance. Why hunt us so ruthlessly?" A human captain stepped into the dim cell, her armor scorched, her left arm missing to some previous campaign, and smiled faintly. "We don't do vengeance," she said. "We do accountability." Then she pulled a datapad from her belt. The screen showed a timeline of Dominion campaigns, raids, massacres, enslavement of species across countless systems. Each node on the timeline marked a target. Every survivor, every witness, catalogued and counted. "We call it settling old debts," she whispered. "We saw the humans' version of mercy too. They spared civilians wherever possible, freed enslaved species, handed weapons to those who wanted revenge, and gave every Dominion world a choice: dismantle, surrender, or die. The logic was elegant, terrifying. You could live, but only if you obeyed, only if you learned. The Dominion tried to retaliate. They hurled entire fleets, unleashed orbital bombardments, deployed experimental doomsday weapons. One ship even attempted to detonate a prototype stellar destabilizer in a nearby star system. Humans didn't panic. They didn't call it overkill, they called it Tuesday. A human admiral, calm, steady, explained it to our surviving council over a clandestine feed. "We don't fight fair. We fight to finish the job. If you want a fair fight, you fight a corpse." The Dominion began unraveling from the inside. Fear spread faster than any fleet. A single human drop pod was enough to shatter command structure on a world, and humans dropped thousands. Entire Jacques bloodlines were terminated. Leaders who once believed themselves immortal now hid in bunkers with trembling underlings. But the true shock, the cruelest twist, came when the humans stopped. The Dominion capital world remained intact, surrounded by the full weight of human firepower. The entire Terran armada loomed in orbit, weapons ready, annihilation inevitable. Yet the humans did nothing. They opened channels, broadcasted across the Dominion network, and one human voice addressed the galaxy. "This is where we stop." Every ear in the Dominion fleet strained. "You will dismantle your empire. You will free every enslaved species. You will submit to observation and oversight. Or we will return." The silence that followed was deafening. "You expect us to live knowing you could obliterate us at any moment?" A Dominion elder hissed over the channel, venom in every word. "Yes," the human captain replied simply. "Because fear is a teacher. And we've taught you everything we can." In that moment, the Dominion realized that survival came not from surrendering, they had already tried that, but from the fear of a force that had no mercy and knew when to stop. The human's restraint was its own weapon. I remember sitting in the council bunker, staring at the feed, heart hammering, realizing the depth of the truth. Humanity wasn't just a species. We were a reckoning. The galaxy had underestimated us for centuries, treating us as fragile, idealistic, and incapable. They had forgotten that the same species who could build, explore, and negotiate could also endure unimaginable losses, hold grudges for generations, and strike with surgical fury when the time came. And when that time came, nothing in the Dominion's doctrine, nothing in their experience, nothing in their arrogance, could prepare them. We weren't rescued. We were avenged. And we, the remnants of a broken, conquered civilization, watched from the shadows as the universe learned a lesson that would echo across light years. When humanity falls silent, the galaxy should pray it never hears the sound of our fury. Because humans don't just rise. We descend. From the sky. And when we do, everything changes. The smoke cleared. Cities were hollowed out echoes of their former selves, fleets lay twisted in the void, and the Dominion, the empire that had once laughed at our defenses, mocked our technology, and catalogued our defeats, lay broken, fractured, and terrified. Humans didn't celebrate. There were no parades, no trophies stacked in orbit, no pomp. Just quiet, methodical dismantling. The survivors were catalogued, freed, and armed. They were given a choice: rebuild, leave, or face annihilation. The galaxy learned to respect the difference between destruction and discipline. We, the remnants of Earth, finally stepped out of the shadows. We were not soldiers of legend, yet, but witnesses to something far older and more terrifying: humanity's patience. We had waited, we had suffered, and when the universe reached for our throat, we fell from the sky. Trade resumed cautiously. Alliances shifted. Worlds that once thought themselves untouchable began to whisper a question before making any aggressive move. Are the humans watching? Every empire, every fleet, every would-be conqueror. That single question reshaped strategy, law, and culture. Fear became a tool not wielded with cruelty, but with inevitability. The galaxy had been educated, thoroughly and permanently. I remember walking through one liberated city years later. Children ran freely in the streets once littered with debris and scorch marks. Survivors rebuilt their own way, and carried the memory of what had happened. Yet, everywhere, the shadow of the Terran Expeditionary Force lingered, silent, omnipresent, and patient. I asked the human commander why they had come for us, why they had answered our call when the odds were so hopeless. Her answer was simple, almost gentle, though her eyes burned with a quiet fury. Because someone once screamed into the void for help, and it was answered. Not with salvation, but with a lesson. We repay that debt, not because we must, but because we can. We had expected angels. We got warriors. The lesson the galaxy learned is clear, and it is brutal. Hope, once lost to humanity, does not die. It waits. It sharpens. It falls from the sky. And when it does, someone else always loses. The Jacor Dominion's name became a cautionary tale. Entire species tell their young about the day humans returned, not as diplomats, not as victims, but as hunters, strategists, and judges. A species underestimated for millennia, capable of both unfathomable patience and terrifying, surgical violence. Because in the end, the universe understood something it had ignored for too long. Humans are not just survivors. We are the reckoning. And when humanity falls from the sky, everything changes.